Hey everyone, what is up? It is me, Ewan from What Culture, and guess who's just watched the first 2 episodes of WandaVision? This guy. It's me. Just watched them. And they're really good. The first and arguably the most anticipated MCU Disney Plus series has finally dropped, and that is largely because we don't really know a thing about the show, other than that something is clearly not right. That's obviously because Vision died in Avengers Infinity War, and that it was clear that Wanda was going through some stuff even before the death of her loved one, and then afterwards where she also died herself, so there's clearly a lot of trauma there, and it was no surprise that fans were already speculating about the possibility of House of M being brought to the MCU. And while the first 2 episodes don't actually reveal what the hell is going on, they do serve as a fantastic introduction to the series, and one that is both kind of really genuinely funny, but also has that terrifying element of sinister stuff bubbling underneath the surface. There was a big deal made after Avengers Endgame came out, and especially after the Disney Investor Day stuff in December, that MCU fatigue was beginning to become a problem. However, WandaVision is nothing like we've seen the MCU do before, and it is much stronger because of it. It is genuinely brilliant, and I can't wait to get into the nitty-gritty details with you all right now. Oh, and of course there will be major spoilers for the first 2 episodes of WandaVision, so if you haven't seen them now, you best skedaddle and actually go and watch them when you can. We've known for a while now that each episode of WandaVision will spotlight on a particular decade, and episode 1 starts the 1950s. The emphasis is on 50s era Americana, suburbia, and there are some really cool filmic changes that Marvel bring to the table to really sell the idea that this is a genuine 50s sitcom. The aspect ratio shifts, and we also get a great intro. Oh, and this thing is genuinely really funny. The dialogue is incredibly sharp, and you can just tell that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are having an absolute blast. And yeah, I would 100% watch an actual WandaVision sitcom set in the 50s/60s that didn't have all the, trauma and sadness bubbling underneath the surface. I should also mention now that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany have great chemistry here, which is really surprising to me given that I kind of thought their relationship in the films wasn't really anything to write home about. Whereas with here, there is genuine love and warmth on the screen, which is obviously going to make things twice as tragic when they inevitably collapse like a big old house of cards, and oh god, I'm not ready for that yet. But hey, we don't need to worry about that sort of thing. It's episode 1 and things are at their most stable. At least they are for the first 15 minutes. Both Wanda and Vision clock relatively early on that something isn't right when they can't figure out the date that they've circled on the calendar for August 23rd. They don't know why they've come to this town, they don't know how they got married, they don't know when their anniversary is, and it's very sad to see them slowly piece together that something clearly isn't right, even if they don't arrive at that conclusion in the first episode. Also, my clear highlight for these first 2 episodes by far is Catherine Hahn's Agnes. She is so good in here as the nosy but affectionate neighbour that's also down to earth, and that to me positions her as a clear candidate for the main antagonist of the series. While you don't get the sense in episode 1 that any of the cast members are upset by their current situation, you do get that in episode 2, and Agnes positions herself as Wanda's friend very early on and is doing her best to keep her happy, which alludes to certain ulterior motives that I'll get to when I get to the second episode. Also, clear highlight, Paul Bettany playing the ukulele. I need more of that. Overall, it's a fantastic introduction to the series, and of course we also get that amazing tease of S.W.O.R.D. right at the end. Now, for those who don't know who S.W.O.R.D. are, they're the spacefaring equivalent of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the comics, led by Abigail Brand, and they have a big connection to the X-Men. I imagine that'll stoke the flames of WandaVision introducing mutants in some form or another, and given the way episode 2 ends, that is a definite possibility, but for now, let's keep our options open. I genuinely don't know what's going to come next. So, episode 2 takes us into the swinging 60s, and we get a great Hanna-Barbera style introduction here, or at least I think it's Hanna-Barbera. I'm not really clued up on my 60s era sitcoms, potentially as much as I should be. But whereas episode 1 things were relatively stable, episode 2 decides to make those sinister undercurrents much more pronounced. The first episode gives us a great Stark toaster machine advert that is a clear reference to the bomb that nearly killed Wanda and Pietro in that flashback sequence in Avengers Age of Ultron. And then in the second episode we get an advert of Baron Strucker's Hydra Watch. Now obviously Baron Strucker was in possession of Wanda and Pietro in Age of Ultron at the beginning, and yeah, I'm really enjoying those little MCU callbacks that they're seeding throughout the show currently. But that's not all. At the beginning of the episode, we also get a sword helicopter toy that crashes in Wanda's bushes outside her house. Now, my theory here is that that is actually meant to be a real sword helicopter, but having made contact with the area that Wanda is kind of in control of, it then basically transformed into a toy. And it's clear that she's disturbed by this because it is rendered in full color, as opposed to everything else, which is still in black and white. This is also where the cast members of the show begin to kind of wake up and realize that something isn't right, at least momentarily. We're introduced to the nosy/bossy planning committee head in this episode, and when she listens to the radio that is beginning to try and break through to Wanda, she ends up getting really nervous and breaks a bit of glass in her hand. We're also introduced to Geraldine, who's played by Teyonah Parris, who we know of course is actually playing Monica Rambeau. It seems a given at this point that Monica was sent in by S.W.O.R.D. to maybe extract Wanda, but for now she is fully enraptured by whatever madness is going on in this location. But it's not all doom and gloom though. We get some really funny moments in here as well, particularly with Wanda and Vision's magic act. Vision also gets a bit of gum that kind of gums up his gears, and he basically gets all drunk, and it's a great excuse for Paul Bettany to go wild on camera and say loads of dumb stuff. What more do you want? And then we get that massive ending reveal that Wanda is pregnant. It comes out of nowhere, and it's still slightly unnerving the way it unfolds. Wanda and Vision leave the house after hearing a disturbance, and out pops from the sewer a really terrifying blend of the Candyman and Pennywise. It's a beekeeper that has the S.W.O.R.D. logo on, and Wanda's just like, no, I'm not ready for this, I'm just gonna rewind, and things will be fine again, so she does just that. After rewinding, she injects a hefty dose of colour to her surroundings, which reveals the really intricate details of the show's costume design, which is a massive highlight as well. We see that both Wanda and Vision are wearing 60s era equivalents of their costumes' colour schemes. Wanda's fully in red, and the Vision's cardigan sweater combo is essentially his colour scheme in the modern day MCU. Either way, really positive impressions overall of the first two episodes, and I cannot wait to see what they do with the 1970s, which is like the most interesting decade in history in my own personal opinion. And yeah, those are my thoughts on the first two episodes of WandaVision. What do you think of the episodes? Let me know down in the comments below, and your theories too, because I still don't know what the hell is going to happen. But yeah, once you're doing that, please be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and to subscribe to What Culture for more MCU content in the weeks and months to come, because there is a lot of it. Remember, you can go back to whatculture.com as well for more of this sort of thing, but in the written word. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do @EwanRuinsThings. That's all for now though, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye!